Smith from Flash Fiction Mystery Quilt. Today we're going to learn how to make the block that I am calling Life's a Picnic. Let's get started, quilters. So today we're going to be making Life's a Picnic block. Start by cutting all your pieces out as the pattern calls for, and then take your
3 3/4
inch squares and cut them on the diagonal, creating two triangles like so. The next thing to do is to arrange all your fabric pieces. So let's do that right now. As you can see, now that I've got them all laid out, we have a 4 square that's set as a diamond shape in the center, and then we have 4 sets of strips. So what we're going to start with is our strips. Let's take them to the sewing machine and sew these together with a full 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I have my strips over here by the machine, and my machine set to a full 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to sew these. So now they're all pressed open, and I press them to the dark color. Now it's time to make our little 4 square, and to do that you just sew one of the green ones together with one of the blue ones. Let's do that. Now that you have your green and blue strips sewn together, all you do is match them alternating. So if there's a blue in this corner, then the one that goes beside it should be the green. And you fold it over and nest your seams and take it to your sewing machine and sew your 1/4 inch seam. Now that we have our 4 square sewn, we are simply going to add the corners to it. And to do that, you do them on opposing ends. So I'm going to line my first piece up, just centering it like so. And then on the opposing side, I'm going to line up the other piece. I'm just sort of starting where the actual block right here starts in the machine. There's no reason to sew the tip of the triangle. Now that we have that sewn together, it is simply a matter of adding the last 2 sides. And so to do that, all I'm going to do is lay this down and again center it. And you will see that you have little dog ears, and that's what you should have. They will get trimmed off when we square this block. And we'll add the other piece. Again, just centering it, and I'm just eyeballing the center. Be sure that you're pressing well between sewing all of your pieces together. And from these, I start all the way at the top where the two of them meet. Now we have it all sewn together, and we're going to square it to 5 3/4 inches. Couple of helpful hints on sewing little triangles onto blocks like we just did. One, they're stretchy, so do not pull on them, because once they become distorted, they're very hard to get back into shape. And two, when you're adding your second triangle set on, if you will lower your feed dogs, in other words, turn your hand wheel on your machine and lower your feed dogs, it makes this little dog ear easier to slide up under your machine and not get caught, and make some knot under there with your fabric. Disclaimer: my ruler is a left-handed ruler, so everything that I'm doing is going to be exactly backwards from how a right-handed ruler works. But just keep that in mind. So find your center line in your foursquare and line up your diagonal line on it. Then half of 5 3/4 inches is right around 2 7/8. So I found my 7/8 inch mark and I sort of run it right down the center. And then that tells me what I am going to be cutting off. So I'm going to square it from there. And that's just a close estimate for the center because I'm not that good with math. And once you get that all lined up where you like it, I'm actually coming up with somewhere between 7/8 and 3/4 for the center this way. And then I will rotate my block to where this edge that I just squared is now over here. And then I'll line up that on the 3/4 inch and cut off anything that remains. And there we have it. Perfect. Our next step is to sew the left and right side onto our center block. I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. We're almost done sewing this block now. It's just a matter of adding your corners to the strips for the top and bottom. Once you have them sewn on, then you'll simply add them to your center section and you'll be done. Now that we have these sewn together, all we need to do is nest our seams and add them on to the top and the bottom. Full disclosure here, on these pieces I sewed by accident a really wide 1/4 inch seam, and so I had to seam rip this and sew it correctly, because if you do not, these will not line up. These corners will not line up. So just be careful with your 1/4 inch seam allowance on these little end cornerstones. I'm going to sew these on and I'll come back to you. So square your block to 11 inches. And I don't know if you can see, but mine is pretty much dead on 11 inches with just little edges that have to come off. And so I'm going to do that right now. And get it lined up and get these few edge pieces cut off that are just sort of sticking out from uneven sewing, and that is all I cut off there. And there's nothing but threads up top. And then I'm going to spin it around. And again, I'm using a left-handed ruler. So keep that in mind when you're trying to replicate my squaring. And again, it is just the smallest amount right over here that needs to be trimmed off. I'm going to show you this. And again, just another little tiny piece. And that was it. I hope you enjoyed making this absolutely gorgeous block with us. And I also hope that you will check out Flash Fiction Mystery Quilt 2022. It is full of adorable blocks like this one. And it makes the most lovely themed quilt I have ever seen. It's going to be a quilt that you will cherish for a lifetime. Check us out and consider registering. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.